You can't find a Miata in a junkyard to save your life anymore. So if you want a motor, you're a couple grand into it. I think blown motors are going for $1,000 at this point.
Green flag.
Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
This episode is brought to you by Deechworks Fuel Systems. Use Apex 10 at checkout to save on fueling your passion. If you have a friend that's slow in a Miata, share this episode with them. Help the podcast grow and help your friend at the same time. On this episode, we're going to give an update on where the Ecotec Miata swaps are in the world. He's back. He's an LS K-Series hating, Ecotec loving, Miata driving wonder. He's got a GM logo tattooed on one arm and a Mazda logo tattooed on the other. And, you know, he's back. So, Cameron, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Con. Thanks for the intro and the branding. I don't think it's actually a tattoo. I think I've been branded with that Ecotec Miata logo at this point. So no hate for anybody else. I would love to hate on those LS guys. You know, I'm good friends with Bronson McNeamer, and he always jokes that I'm missing half an engine. And, you know, the K guys make a pretty good product too. But that's the target. They're the guys right now, or have been.
Yeah, in this market, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Trust me. I have plenty of questions, and I want to make sure that we are covering what you want to cover. So it's been a little bit over a year since you were last on the podcast, episode 116. So if you could add an addendum to that podcast or add some caveats, what would it be?
Man, I wish I would have, after listening to it, when it came out the first time, and I sent it to all my friends and my race buddies and everything else, I got a little criticism. I didn't bring the excitement enough the last time I was on. I put Matan Rosenberg to sleep, so hopefully this time I won't. It's been a really exciting year. The new developments and changes that I made to products have been well received. The biggest complaint when I took over was that the oil pan needed massive changes. And I was bootstrapping the whole thing. I had to basically make a judgment call, like, let's make this better. Anything we do at this point is going to be better. Didn't really have a lot of time to test it before I launched into selling the pans, and I didn't want to sell welded oil pans continuing going forward. So we launched that billet piece of aluminum as an adapter plate to our very serviceable Ecotec Miata oil pan. And I've gotten nothing but rave reviews. And in fact, what prompted me to come back and reach out to you is I had 4 or 5 customers in the last 2-3 months say, hey, I'm really excited about this. I listened to your episode on the Blind Apex, and, it affected my decision to go with your swap. And so I'm like, Con, I got to get back on the podcast and tell them about all the stuff that we've been working on, what's coming, the changes that we've made, the successes that we've had, the failures that we've had that have prompted new product development. So I just wanted to get on and tell some people, on top of what we're doing, in Facebook and Instagram and, those different posts.
Yeah. So it's good to hear that you got some feedback from folks that are listening. I need that feedback because, just trying to ensure that the podcast is in the right place, from the listener standpoint and the guest standpoint, I need that kind of feedback. So I appreciated when you said it, but you triggered actually question number 2 for me. So is there anything you believed you were chasing with the swap last time that you found isn't actually worth the effort?
Oh, that's a really tricky question. I think that I get caught up in just the engineering side of the swap. And, I want to chase like the little part development and like add-ons and all these little things to like develop and talk about. But mostly what I found, my wife yells at me all the time about this. Why are you posting on your Facebook page stuff that you don't have for sale? So I want to always talk about what the product development is and post about it. I think she pointed out to me that the last like 7 or 8 posts on my on the company Facebook page aren't even products that I have for sale today. So I got to change a little bit of that mindset, not stop the product development, but promote a little bit more of my brand of the things that people can get from us. One of the big things that we're working on right now is a really good header. There isn't one for the Miata today. There's a slingshot one that that a lot of people use, and it does all right. But at the limit, at the true race pace that we want to be at, where we're competitive, I needed to completely redesign it and come back with something. And what prompted it was complete and utter failure at Road America. I literally, in the carousel, watched a chunk of my exhaust exit stage left into the sand trap. I could see it in my mirror. I heard a chunk, and then watched it sail off into the sand trap at the carousel. And then all of a sudden everything got a whole lot louder in the car. So, I guess I need to be talking a little bit more about the things we have for sale today, but I also want to talk about the exciting stuff that we have coming up.
Yeah. So, okay. One, kudos to your wife, much like my wife, who keeps me grounded. It sounds like your wife is keeping you grounded. She encourages my excitement. She does things like, I think I was in the garden or something, and she comes outside. My wife goes, "Hey, I booked a room for PRI this year." And I was like, "So we're going?" And she was like, "Well, you've wanted to go and you always make an excuse." Well, now you don't have one. Right. So
you're going this year.
Wives that can keep. Yeah. So wives that can keep you in check and keep you pointed correctly are keepers for sure. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
The other thing is the swap world, the headers seem to be the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't name names, but other chassis with other engines don't make power without a better than off the shelf chassis or header.
It's interesting, and that's kind of what I've found, and really the thing that the crux of what I've done in the last, since I was last on, is build better partnerships, develop vendor relations, get closer to having that complete swap. I've had a few customers say that header looks, the renderings and the click together 3D prints that I've done on the header, that looks great. Can you please make a complete swap kit where a customer can buy an exhaust kit and then bolt everything together? Because today, up until this point, and I'm sure other swaps are the same way, my buddy has an RX-8 with an LS in it. He has to piecemeal everything. He had to, custom. There's no off-the-shelf kit for it, even though there's a subframe and there are other parts for it. You can't buy headers from V8 Roadsters for that swap. And so I knew that what we had today was basically a slingshot header that, works. It does well. Does it do outstanding? No, it's not. It's not a long tube header. It's a ram horn style, so it's restrictive. And then it's just not built for the chassis. So I I wanted to take a critical eye look at that and bring something that would be high performance, first class in its design and implementation. So we're designing it with manufacturing in mind. I'm not going to pie cut this thing together and supply customers with a bunch of pie cut welded parts. The goal is to minimize the number of welds. Welds are great. They're also the devil when it comes to building race cars, because that's where all the failure points happen. That was what happened with the oil pan. Now I'm going to do it with the header design and try and minimize the amount of welds that are implemented into it, and go with a completely mandrel bent system. And so knowing that, you got to get in touch with the header manufacturer, the pipe benders, and understand, what's your limitation? What are your dies set up for? How much space do I need between a bend? All things I had no idea about until I went down this rabbit hole and started calling and talking to people. And it's a wide variety. It's everything from, well, I've got dies for 3-inch centerline radius. I've got the limitation of a 4-inch section of straight before I can implement another bend on the part. And you start to kind of get a feel for what that's going to be. And I'm like, okay, well, then that means I'm going to have to do more welding. But then you find out that there's all these other styles of machines out there. In the last couple of months have become not an expert in any of these, but I have a feel for what the market can offer. So we've redesigned the headers 3 or 4 times over the last couple months for fitment. And then finally have landed on a design. I'm talking to a bending company. I've got a local guy who's also a racer, car nut, who's a really good welder. In fact, he stopped by and picked up the stainless flange that I had laser cut this week so that he can start piecing together the prototype. And then once we prove that out, throw it on the dyno, make more power, then we'll implement the full mandrel bent system and then hopefully have it for sale this coming build season. That's the objective.
Well, when you're like me, all year is the build season because you just break stuff so much. But I understand. So we're recording and probably going out in August. So sometime in the next 3 months, maybe. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm hoping that, in time for kind of maybe a Black Friday sale this year. We'll see. Everybody asked me last year. I didn't run one, but this year maybe we'll do another one, or we'll do an anniversary sale for our 2-year anniversary of operating here in Michigan.
Sweet. Everybody likes a sale, especially me. I'm good for that. But yeah. Okay. So what's the one modification everyone thinks they need, but they really don't?
Man, I'm so race car focused that the thing that everyone thinks they need. Everyone wants to start with bolt-ons. And I think that the thing that everyone should start with, and, I've listened to one of your podcasts or one of the sessions when you talked about oil, having good maintenance is probably one of the most overlooked things, but the thing that people want to jump to first is getting that blingy part. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is that we all talk about engines like they're an air pump, right? Like it's just moving air in order to make power. But I think in the last year, I've discovered it's more like a musical instrument, in that every single piece, tip to tail, has got to be worked together. The intake has got to be, everybody they see my intake and they're like, I want to buy an intake. I'm like, okay, here's what you're going to make with just an intake. You're going to see more power everywhere, but it's only just a little bit. What you need is cams in order to do that. And then in order to get the cams to breathe better, you need a better header. You need not the cast, OEM manifold. You need to go to a tubular header. And then if you want more power than that, you really need to start looking at porting it. So I've sold a little bit of that this year. I personally just started running one of our built engines this year and made 213 wheel horsepower at a dyno jet, and that was with a really, really limiting header. Like, I can send you the video later, but they are purple by 5,000 RPMs. You can see them in the video. They are, and that's definitely what contributed to that header exploding at Road America this spring. But c'est la vie, right? Like now we just, it's that rabbit hole. We're finding the next weakest link and improving it.
Yeah. All of us, we're all guilty of liking shiny parts, right? Like, I get it. But especially, I did one all on the intake side. I did an episode all on the intake side with Jake from Bain Racing out of Australia. And then I had High Tech on for the exhaust side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I learned, and as I'm attempting to put together a 250, 260 horsepower K24 that will run like a scalded dog and not eject flywheels and stay together so I can race for a couple of years solid without.
You're throwing flywheels.
I tried, yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So, you really have to look at every piece and how it works together and how it relates, especially on the intake side. So check out that podcast if you need. If you're like, I'm buying myself a manifold, there's a lot more to the manifold than meets the eye.
You know what? So, I just realized what that thing is that everyone likes to do. It's not buy. It's what they like to do on every single one of these modern 4-cylinder engines. And some people have to pull them out. We don't. And I got asked that question. Oh, you have to take the balance shafts out, right? We don't have to take the balance shafts out. Everyone likes to do that. And shit likes to vibrate when you take them out. And the only reason in an Ecotec that you take them violently, it's not so bad on the Ecotec. I know it's much worse in a K, but in an Ecotec, I tell all my customers, unless you're going to rev about 7,500 RPM, there's no reason to take those balance shafts out. They're like, oh, but there's 30 horsepower there from the balance shafts, and I've seen some stuff online in forums that says that. Bullshit. We tested it. It's 7. It's 7 whole horsepower with an electronic water pump on an engine dyno. So it's even less at the wheels once you've done it, once you've bolted up a transmission. So it's not worth it. If you can leave them in, absolutely leave the balance shafts in, unless you're going to spin it to the moon like you're in a K, or you want to spin it to $8,000 or higher in an Ecotec, because now your shafts are spinning at 16,000 or higher RPMs, and they like to exit the block then. So the caveat with that, and I tell everybody this, should I take the balance shafts out? Do you want to balance your crankshaft? And they're like, huh? The only way, and that's the only time I've got one engine that has the balance shafts out right now. And it's because we lightened the crank. We took 6 pounds off the crank and we balanced it. And the thing is still smooth and runs great. But that's the only way you should ever get to the point where you want to pull those balance shafts out. Otherwise, leave them in there, leave them alone. They're not hurting anybody. They're quelling all the secondary harmonics and everything else that want to kill your engine. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Well, K series is a different beast, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But if it's even half of what a K series vibrates, like, you're going to need blue Loctite on everything. Buy it by the 5-gallon bucket because you're going to use it all the time.
Might as well go red at that point. Yeah.
And if you miss one bolt on your nut and bolt check anywhere on a K series, on my K24, you will pay dearly, because you will come back into the paddock and be like, where is the bolt, or where's the nut that holds my fuel rail on? Right. I've literally seen it happen to people. Look, it's no joke.
Yeah.
when you do it,
It-
it comes with consequences. So
I don't know
weigh your-
how it
weigh
I don't
the
know how it
benefits.
compares. I don't know how it compares, but we don't have that issue. Like at startup on a bone stock Ecotec on an LE5, it's Singer sewing machine smooth. I sent a video from our very first startup to a customer, like from 2019 or 2018, sent it to a customer. And they're like, so I need to, this was after he had asked me about the balance shafts. And I sent him the video of it running after it just had started up. And it's just smooth and quiet. And he actually asked me compared to like the BP. So the Miata engine. I think it's smoother with the balance shafts in on a stock engine than a BP is. It's got street manners, and then it'll still make with a simple cam swap, which you talked about on the last podcast, for $20 out of the junkyard. You're making 185 horsepower, about that in torque. And you can go way up from there. We talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, it's the simple, smooth nature of that engine that I think has been such a benefit to us, is that it's not so buzzy, it doesn't shake transmissions apart. It's really gentle on equipment.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's important, right? Like, especially like endurance racers or folks who don't want high maintenance engines. The K series, if you're going to spin one and you end up with titanium retainers, I can promise you're going to be in the head every winter at a minimum. You're going to be swapping titanium retainers out, right? Because everybody wants to rev their stuff to the moon. So
it's interesting. We can rev our stuff to the moon. There's a lot of advertising around titanium retainers. I don't sell them, and I won't, because I don't believe in them. Titanium's really soft. It's like a grade 5 material. It's not the ideal material for a retainer. It's GM from the factory put in an outstanding hardened steel, pretty lightweight retainer. Now, we're not floating valves. We're not floating retainers at 9,000 RPMs, and we don't need to spin it any higher. We could spin to 10 grand. I don't run the cam. I don't run cams big enough for it, because then I really would pass everything but the pit stop in an endurance race. So it's fine for what most customers want to run in an endurance environment. And there's like a lot of spring upgrades that are out there today, basically package it in there with them, and then you get a additional, cost increase because you're running titanium retainers. But I don't recommend them because of that reason. It's that maintenance. I want my customers to have to go into their engine every time they change their oil. That's it. Like, that's it. You're taking the oil cap off, you're pouring the oil in, and after you're draining it, and you're moving on.
yeah, I think it's I don't want to call it a myth, because, if you're building some like D-stroker or something weird,
Mm-hmm.
the K series have a lot of, even in the aggressive factory cams, have some overlap that causes a little bit of that shake in the engine.
Mm-hmm.
Can cause a little float if your springs aren't like the right poundage kind of thing, or as aggressive as they need to be. But they always sell it as a package, right? I literally call up my guy at IPG and go, hey, I need my Supertex, but I need chromoly retainers because I'm not using the titanium ones because I don't want to be in there all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these are myths that happen, right? Like deleting your
100%.
balance shafts. So there's myths in the top of the engine, there's myths in the bottom of the engine, and you're playing a balancing act, right? With these engines. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? I'm guilty of it. I do it. Yeah. I've been doing it on a spreadsheet for this winter. What am I going to do? Build the head, pocket port it, run a 12.5 to 1 compression. I mean, the slippery slope is crazy that you got to deal with, right?
It is, for sure.
So be educated and ask the questions. So
I try to do
and that's-
that to the best of my ability with my community and my customers. I want to make sure that whatever I sell them, it's something that I would run. I don't want to just sell stuff. It'd be great if I didn't have that level of, I guess, morality. I don't know what to call that but I don't want to sell things that are meaningless that I think are going to cause problems further down the road. I want good valves. I want good retainers. I want to give the customers the best options at a good price. And, go, like I said on the last podcast, go fast, not broke. Let's make it so that everyone can have fun, that they're going to enjoy what they're getting from me, and that I'm not going to get any phone calls saying, hey, your titanium retainer ripped right through, the valve ripped right through the retainer. Like, this is a problem. And I don't want that headache further on down the road, because I know I just sold 100 packs of them or whatever it is for the season. I don't want to have to worry about the backlash from something like that. So we test everything for the most part before it hits the street, unless we know it's good from other people's perspective.
So, okay, let's talk about testing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So has anything happened in your testing that has completely changed how you're approaching this project or this swap, outside of ejecting your header, a chunk of your header out? Is there been anything else that you were like, okay, I'm rethinking this?
I made a big mistake last year. Again, at Road America. That place hates me. I love going there. It's an awesome track. It's so much fun when you got horsepower and you can carry your speed through the corners, but that place hates me. So I got the bright idea of, and there's no problem with this first part. We took 40 thousandths off from the head. We shaved a full millimeter off from the cylinder head, which bumped us to right around 12 to 1 compression. No problems. When I was talking to the guy that does the tuning for us and is our ECM vendor, he's like, well, when you do that, you're retarding cam timing, which I kind of knew because it's a thing that happens with Miatas. But in Miatas, it's actually helpful on the BP engine because you're retarding that cam timing to the point where it's gonna be helpful. But if in a VVT engine, where we're advancing the camshaft as far as it will go on the cam phaser, we're losing travel out to that limit where we were making optimal power. And so I had this bright idea because it worked with the exhaust cam when we took an intake cam and put it on the exhaust cam, and I did the math and re-timed the phaser to be like an exhaust cam. I'm going to advance the intake cam by 1 tooth, which is 7.3 repeating degrees. And that's about what I lost when I shaved the head. And I took the time and I rolled the engine over. Here's the problem when you do that. You've got hydraulic loss. I still had hydraulic lifters. I had pump down. The engine rolled over just fine. It was a little sticky on the first go, which was where the valves were touching the pistons at full advance. And then the next time it was fine, and okay, we're good. Let's send it. Let's go to the dyno tomorrow. This is the night before we went to the dyno, of course. And we got to the dyno and started playing with cam timing, fully phased it. And then all of a sudden we started to see some power loss. Not a lot, but when I got out on the track at Gingerman, my top speed was about 5 or 6 miles per hour slower. And we did mods that should have added power. I'm like, is it just cold? Is it, we were also, the other thing is I can never just do one thing at a time. We were testing some drive-by-wire ITBs. Now that's kind of a back burner project right now, but it will come out eventually. We're running ITBs from a motorcycle that breathe better than the cylinder head, and ported even. And and it runs off from our standalone. I street drove it. It's awesome. Sounds amazing. Made really good power as long as you're feeding it cold air. That was the big issue, is that once you close the hood, it's hard to feed the ITBs anything but hot air coming off the radiator. So it's part of why it got put to the back burner. But got on a track, set some okay lap times, went to Road America and blew the engine. Absolute brand, our new oil pan design, which I can report took a rod strike. I have the dimple. It's back on the car. Block holes in both sides. Oil pan's fine. Took it like a champ. It was awesome. But turns out at teardown, we had blown 2.5 quarts of oil right by the piston because the valves had just broken just enough of the piston on cylinder 1 and cylinder 3 and it kissed every single one of them. Every single intake valve was bent when we tore it down. But yeah, don't do that. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done on this experiment. $100 motor, didn't really owe me anything. Still hurts because it, didn't need to die. I sacrificed it to the gods of research and development.
Yeah, I mean it's $100 motor, but it's blood, sweat, and tears when you put it in. Yeah. It's dyno time. It's all sorts of stuff that you're like, what did I just do? Right.
We were also in third on Sunday with an hour to go. So that hurt more than anything else, was the not getting to finish the race.
That'll hurt. So you talked a little bit about your development, your unorthodox development where you're doing more than one thing at one time. So over the last year, what have you been testing? Mm-hmm. And like, how did you test it, and what kind of metrics are you looking for in general?
So everything gets at least track tested for a couple of hours. So typically this year, the big thing that we tested was our new rough knuckle red top engines. That was the newest addition. I've sold a few engines now at this point. I'm partnered with one of the best Ecotec builders in the country. He primarily, those engines that he builds goes into circle track. And so I partnered up with him, and we've been sharing notes. And he builds the engines really well. I go out and find partnerships to help make that system work better. And so the best thing that you can do to test an engine when you're out there promoting it for your customers is go throw it on the track for an endurance race, because you're not going to punish anything worse. There's no way to punish an engine worse than in an endurance race, because you're going for 2.5 hours on a tank of gas before you're coming in, and then you're changing drivers and you're going for 8 hours at a time. And so what we're tracking telemetry, we're tracking oil pressure data, we're tracking all of that. So we use a race capture, which is Autosport Labs product, not sponsored by them at all. Brent makes a great product. I love how easy it is to work with his products. And then I can throw all of that onto Podium, which is his cloud server. And then I can take all the homologated data and spread it out over the course of an entire race. So I can watch lap after lap after lap, track max mins, and then that the average oil pressure is, temperatures, etc. Everything that the ECM is pushing out to over the CAN bus, and any analog sensors that we have inside the engine. So we're watching oil temp, water temp, pressure, throttle position, lateral G's, everything else that's relevant to a racer. And then I'm looking at that with a pretty critical eye and looking for some negative trends, but also some of the positive trends. And that was how we evaluated this engine. It's making, obviously we go to the dyno and we want to see, where we were before. Old engine that was making 12 to 1. This is making 10.5 stock compression, but big cams. So we're testing cylinder head porting, bigger valves, bigger cams, 230 degrees of duration, and then 450 lift. So they're way bigger than what I was running before. More of what we would maybe even consider a light sprint cam. He has bigger cam profiles, but doing all these things in conjunction, but it's really just a retested engine, but for endurance over the course of an entire endurance weekend, making sure that those metrics are lined up at the first lap and at the last lap.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think there's any better way to test it, especially when you're getting circle track engine, right? Those boys, at least locally, they're going to rip 150, 200 laps in a night, depending on where they are, what the heat races look like, and how far they go. And so that's one good way, because they sit there on the edge. They run them geared to whatever.
They're running,
but
some of
then
them
you're
are running,
putting it through the paces.
Yeah, there's some of them are running direct drive, and they're holding at 8,000, 9,000 RPMs with these same engines and builds and everything else. And they're running methanol with ITBs and massive headers that curl up over the top of the engine, and they're getting rid of like the coil packs and going to a distributor with or they're going to like LS remote coils. It's a totally different world. They delete the VVT, which actually in this engine right now, we've deleted the VVT because the cams are so big that if I again, that same problem, the cams are big enough at the limit, I'm going to kiss the valves. I'm in the early development stages right now of coming out with a cam phaser limiter. We're trying to figure out if we can make a shim, which would be the easy thing, hypothetically speaking, or if it's going to be necessary to basically machine a brand new outer ring to this cam phaser. GM designed this cam phaser in a way that is very unique and intricate on the inside. So guys with Coyote motors will be familiar with this, and all you need to do is stick a block in there, because Ford made the phaser vanes square. Easy to make a shim, put a block in there, sandwich it up, put it back together, you're done. Everything has like a jagged edge, like it's the face of Mount Rushmore on the inside of this cam phaser. It's a freaking jigsaw puzzle. So in order for me to do it, I got to find a machine shop that has an EDM, so electromagnetic discharge, basically a hot wire that's electrified, that's highly precise, in order to get the straight wall, bearing finish, all these other qualities for this part. And so I don't want to have to do that, but I know a lot of my customers want VVT. And so we're in the design phase of that. And then we'll figure out if it's going to be, the juice will be worth the squeeze down the road when the machine shop costs come back. But yeah, we have a solution. I've got another customer that's in GLTC right now that's running. He wants more power. And I told him, I said, well, we've got cams and phaser deletes, and maybe that's the short answer that we have product for on the shelf today that we can provide you with. And that'll probably result with E85 in the 225, 230 range right now. And we're hoping that this header adds on top of that, because there's not a great option today. There's nothing long tube. It's all short tube. And
for sure. Look, we're all chasing power, right? But like we talked about earlier, everything has to build onto everything else, right? So you can get big cams, but then big cams cause other problems, right? So you got to work on all this stuff.
It's one big system. If you don't have it all working together, then, it's not going to all work together quite right.
So, okay, I was cruising the website earlier today, and we'll talk about one big system. You have the swap kit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing some funny math and I figured the swap kit plus a junkyard engine plus a little here or there, you're probably in this for like $5,000, right?
Yeah. If you DIY it, and I'll help with some of that information. I can help with like some wiring diagrams and stuff like that. We sell a wire harness. Like you can put it all together into a shopping cart and then just go have to source your exhaust. I'm working on the exhaust piece of it, but that's not ready yet today. But yeah, you could do it for about $5,000. I would recommend getting an ECM from us. There's a lot of tripping hazards with getting a automatic ECM, say out of like an HHR or a Malibu or something like that, where it's the engine likes to stall because it can't see the torque converter and it wants to see all of that from the automatic transmission. And so the ECM that we sell is a manual native car tune, and it kind of takes away some of that. But that's just like the base tune where you make about 165 horsepower.
Okay. I mean, for 5,000, you're not getting a case swap. Okay.
No,
It's not happening.
nope.
You're not getting that LS swap we talked about for $5,000. Okay. I mean, minimum, you're doubling it. Okay. So, in my opinion, if you're still a do it yourselfer, if you're willing to grow a little bit with the kit, with the engine, this is a bargain right now. And I'm going to tell you this. The K swap's not going 2.5 hours in an endurance race before it needs fuel. Not at all. Not even close. Unless you got a bunch of sneaky stuff under the car.
Or you put a 24-gallon fuel cell in the back that the Lemons organization will let you run. Yeah, not usually. No, we'll actually put a stock engine. We'll push 3 hours. It's kind of impressive, actually. You know, I get yelled at by my team all the time. Why are we adding more power? We need more fuel efficiency. I'm like, nah, more power is more fun. We'll just pit stop faster.
Yeah. But so these are strategic decisions you make, right?
Right.
Okay. That you're not LS swapping for an endurance race, at least not the tiny Miata, right? That's more of like a street thing or a burnout car or whatever. Some hoonigan foolery.
Time attack too.
Okay. Yeah, sure. It's way too small and way too much engine, but okay.
Don't tell Bronson McNeely.
There's compromises. Well, he did it. I know he's working through some things that he has to, because he made this decision, right? This is the decisions we're making as a whole. Okay. So take these things into account. If you want maximum fun for the least amount of money, this is probably going to be your bag, because the spec Miata guys are eating up these engines. The factory engines are disappearing.
Yeah. You can't find a Miata in a junkyard to save your life anymore. So if you want a motor, you're a couple grand into it. I think blown motors are going for $1,000 at this point. And that's kind of where I became a user. I got tired of shopping the junkyard for piece of shit motors that, barely ran and smoked. And, I rebuilt a couple, and I said, to hell with this. I'm not an engine builder, and I can't find them anymore. So it's time to go to something else. Found the Ecotec. It was palatable for a DIY guy to, build his own wire harness. And I was a hack. I now run one of our race harnesses, and it's not built by me. It is built by somebody that I spec'd everything to. It's built professionally. And so these are the growth things. If you're great with a wire crimper and you can follow a wire harness, all the power to you. We'll help you do that. If it's not your jam, buy a harness. It'll save your weekend. I don't worry about harnesses anymore. Thankfully, I've had one take me out of a race multiple times, with my cobbled shit together. But I like to run quality parts at this point because I'm tired of being in the paddock trying to fix shit on a race weekend. But yeah, it's five-ish grand. There's some little ancillary things here and there that it all adds up, right? But if you got a pile of GM hardware laying around somewhere and the rest of this stuff, the DIY kit runs about $2,000. I recommend you get the billet flywheel with it because a broken flex plate will destroy your transmission. Ask me how I know. And that was after I owned the company. It was stupid. I absolutely, again, at Road America, could have swapped it in before I went to the racetrack, had a clutch for it and everything, and didn't, and paid the price. So it's how do you want to roll the dice with some of this gambling? I wouldn't do it on the clutch and flywheel setup. Buy the billet. You won't think about it twice. It's chromoly. You can have it machined 100 times and keep doing it. We try and make it affordable because we want people to go racing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about the value proposition a little bit here. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like beginners need seat time, right? So maybe if they have $5,000 in a running Miata, they just worry about seat time. But
no, spend it on an Ecotec. Go spend it on an Ecotec.
Yeah, well, okay. But at some point, your engine becomes long in the tooth. You're looking to go a little faster, something.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this kit for? And has your market changed, or like what really, who needs this in their life?
I think it's anybody who wants to it's for the guy who wants to wrench, because I've got an install base. We don't do installs at the company. I see there's a lot of companies that do. They start that way and then they drop that side of their business because it starts to interfere in different ways. And this is a way I can keep low overhead too. But I've got a mass of shops at this point that are capable. They work on Miatas and they're familiar with the swap. I would be happy to introduce a customer to do the swap for them. But it's the DIYer. It's the guy that wants a little bit more power. They want it to run smoothly. It's the person that's tired of blowing up BP engines and trying to source the thing because the spec guys have chewed up the entire market. It's the guys that want to go endurance racing. It's a great endurance motor. And it's even a great sprint motor. The Ecotecs in circle track sprint racing are great. They run and they run and they run and they run, and they'll go multiple seasons without a rebuild. And those guys are hard on their shit. Like road racing's way easier on an engine than circle track racing is. So I truly think that GLTC guys, and I've ran it. Matan Rosenberg ran it before he went to a Corvette. Jeff Waselko, who's been mid-pack, pretty competitive with his this season. We're going to make Jeff faster for next season. And I think that I'm going to have a new chassis and a new development that I personally want to go run a couple GLGT races next year with. So, last time off mic, we talked a little bit about what's coming. And this year's been a little bit tough with, just different developments and time. And I got another kid, so my time gets eaten up even a little bit more, but bought an RX-8. We are working through the development on that chassis. Caught a couple snags because this one was pulled out of a field for $400 and had been kind of utilized by a bunch of mice. The stench is
Okay.
gone, but the rot remains. And so I need to repair some sills that are kind of rusted out, so we're going to put a little square tubing in there. And, while we're in there, why don't we put some air jacks in just for funsies? But this is going to be a borderline time attack / GLGT car, turbo Ecotec. And so I've got the manifold, I've got the turbo. It's a big, and again, this is my my inner Lemons racer. I can't get rid of it. Picked up years ago off from an engine test stand. It's brand new. Basically a whole set HE 351CW, and people are going to go, what the hell is that? It's a big old Cummins turbo, and it's somehow it's sized appropriately for a 2.4 liter Ecotec. Go figure. So we're going to run that and have to turn it down on low boost. We'll make that single digit boost, like 7 PSI. We're going to make like 350, 320 horsepower somewhere in there. I don't know exactly yet, but yeah, we want to go light some people up with an RX-8 and an Ecotec and maybe even an 8 HP. We'll see. We've worked, that development's pretty close to being done.
I need the sneak peek pictures on that, because there's some challenges with the RX-8 that the NC Miata doesn't provide you. So in general, with other swaps, I should say. So it's interesting. I can't wait to see more detail on that. So
yeah,
that's awesome. It's going to be fun. Yeah. I'm fond of the RX-8 chassis myself. So
I think it's a great chassis. I think it's hard to get an engine in it because of where Mazda put that rotary. It's just it's a toaster oven size engine that they shoved basically up underneath the car. And okay, guys all know this. It's not unique to the Ecotec. If we try and keep the stock transmission in the stock transmission place with the PPF and everything else, we're cutting into the firewall. And as it turns out, and I don't think the K has anything on the backside of the engine. The big problem with the Ecotec is that we have a couple of camshaft position sensors that basically point in our inside of the HVAC system. So keep it stock at the firewall and move the engine forward, and then have to come up with a custom drive shaft and a PPF extension, which extending a drive shaft's not too bad. And then I got to make a bracket for the stock transmission. I kind of just want to throw an 8 HP in there and let her rip and come out with the mounts for that. I think people will be pretty happy with an easy 300 horsepower, or you turn up the boost and get a better turbo and you get 450 horsepower, or, put some rods and some pistons in it for $1,200 or $1,300, something like that. And now we can make 600 horsepower. So anything that the other guys can do on a 4-cylinder, we can pretty much do too. One of the new things that's coming, I mentioned this a little bit before the podcast, is that we're going to be migrating to a new name, new domain. Ecotecmiata will still drive, and that name's not going to go away, but it's going to, because we're developing new chassis and new platforms and new programming, we're going to be riding underneath Rough Knuckle Racing, which has been my race team name for the last 10 years. And right now that website is live. Not everything is up and running just yet. Like, I don't have the FAQs all pushed there. A lot of the products are all available, but the big thing that's there right now is our new Rough Knuckle Red Top engine. So today you can order an engine from us, and in 5 to 8 weeks, you'll be shipped a endurance ready rebuilt Ecotec which starts at about $4,100. And I would love to see anybody else provide a race-ready, remanufactured engine for that price point.
Nope. No, I don't think so. Well, depends how you define race ready, but it's not going to be cammed and stuff. Or if it is,
this one
it
wouldn't be
ported
cammed
heads.
either. You've got the option to add all that stuff in, but we do some things for reliability and the endurance side of things to make sure that the engines are going to run smoothly and without any kind of wear patterns that can come up in a racing environment for these engines. So like anything else, nothing lasts forever, but we try to make it last as long as possible, especially under the most extreme conditions. And so we built in some additional reliability to those rebuilds.
Nice. Yeah, I've been looking at 12.5 to 1 K series short blocks, and I know how much a head's going to cost me. I'll be above that. For sure.
How would you like a 14 to 1 compression ratio stock part Ecotec? 14 to 1 on stock parts.
It doesn't work in my Honda.
We could make it work. We could make it.
Won't be in my Honda, but yeah. No.
Maybe we need to get you into it. Maybe that RX-8 is going to have to come back around here real soon, and then you can run 14 to 1 with some drive-by-wire ITBs and a nice header and make it. It won't make that brap, brap, brap sound anymore, but it'll sing either way.
Yeah, that could be it. But yeah, not in my Honda. I'll do a lot of things, but I don't think I'll bastardize it like that. So unfortunately.
I threatened some of my friends, I found this S2000. I think it needs an Ecotec put into it, and everybody.
Oh no!
I think I would break the internet if I did that. And so maybe someday when I get a little spare coinage, I'll just do that to rile everybody up.
You'll officially be trolling the hell out of everybody.
That, or maybe we'll put an Atlas engine in there. Who knows? Maybe that's, that engine's going to be coming out for us here soon too. We'll see.
Blasphemy. Anyway. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to cover for this episode?
I guess I just want to say, go check out the new website. I'll post a link to it on the Facebook page when this podcast comes out. Take a look at our engines. Watch for the new developments on the headers. I should be testing that here really soon. And then if anybody's got any questions, you can reach us right now at info@Ecotecmiata.ca. And I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, or catch me on Facebook. Very active on Messenger. So if you have any questions about it, or you want to run a couple different things by me, I'm happy to bench race it with you for a little bit and see what I can do to help you guys out.
Awesome, man. So let's do the 2026 segment, because I want to pick your brain on this. You're a do-it-yourself guy, endurance racer. So if you're building a race car, ABS or no ABS in your race car?
Ooh, I was going to put it into the race car only because I thought I needed a wheel speed sensor for the 8HP. I don't. And I'm not sure. I've been really, really lucky the last couple years. I've not raced in the rain in probably 5 years. So I'm going to go no ABS because you get a little bump in GLTC, but I know it's faster, but I know that it's my regular brakes aren't going to fail like that, like a MK60 block might. So I'm going to go no ABS.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, I just feel like everyone has this passion one way or the other, and I'm not sure there's actually a right answer because it's so individual.
I'm just going against the grain. I think it's great. I've not driven a car with this setup yet. I would like to try it, and I think I'm already getting a lot of hate from people that I've been talking to that I'm going to put an automatic transmission into my race car. They're like, blasphemous. I'm like, yeah, but it's faster. And the transmissions are like $150 out of a 3 Series BMW. Hate me all you want. Miata transmissions can't take the abuse, and they're $1,000 built or more. You can spend a boatload building a transmission that is was only ever designed to handle 100 horsepower and like 90 foot-pounds of torque. So
yeah,
I'm going. We don't blow through transmissions. Ecotec's gentle on it for some reason, but I've still broken a few. It's that third gear synchro that my ham-fisted drivers all beat the crap out of it with. And so I'm just like, I'm going to take this all out of the equation, make it electronic. I think from an endurance standpoint, I think I would actually put ABS in the car because I'm tired of getting in after somebody's ran a stint and all of a sudden I got a vibration on the tire because somebody turned it into a square. It's no longer round. So from that perspective, like, yeah, I think ABS really does have its place. Me building something as light as if I was going to go super lightweight, build something, crazy. Yeah, I'm probably just going to skip the whole ABS thing and just strip it down as much as I can.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
Well, Cameron, it's been good catching up with you, man.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me back on, Con. I appreciate it.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.